Kanye West, he would be facing sex trafficking charges if it was anywhere else.
Gene Deal has come forward with explosive claims linking Diddy to 5 high-profile celebrities, including major names like Kanye West, Jay-Z, and Usher. The allegations are so serious that many people are now questioning why 50 Cent left these details out of his documentary. In a recent interview, Gene went through each celebrity and described their alleged connections to Diddy. He began with Usher, pointing out that Usher himself has admitted to seeing and experiencing things at a very young age that he never should have been around. According to Gene, that admission alone raises serious questions about the environment surrounding Diddy at the time.
Probably a lot of celebrities that saw it. There's probably a lot of stuff. Look at Usher. What Usher say? I seen some things I shouldn't have been seeing at that age. What does that tell you? That he's seen some things, he was around some things when he was young that he shouldn't have been at a Diddy party. So that's going to show you that there's certain things that are happening that's going on that here it is, this kid was saying he shouldn't even seen it and been around.
It seems Usher was placed in situations that were completely inappropriate for someone so young, especially considering the environments he was exposed to. Gene Deal has now shared a disturbing claim about Usher's time around Diddy, alleging that one incident between them became so serious that it resulted in Usher being hospitalized.
A certain feeling, and I felt a certain way when Usher got on Shay Shay, and I don't mean to mention other people's platforms, but he got on Shay Shay and he mentioned how great and how good Puff taught him and everything. You know what I'm saying? About the business, right? I know, and people know, that was around that in that time that Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. But how dare you say a man that groomed you, you gonna give him a pass? Bruh, you know I know.
Gene Deal pointed out that Usher has subtly alluded to this experience in the past, despite never fully explaining what happened. Because of that, Gene finds it troubling that Usher would later speak positively about or defend someone he claims caused him harm during his younger years.
Let me reframe you on something. Remember Usher? We was at the Swiss Hotel. Puff had Kim in the room. Had one of Keith Sweat's baby mothers in the big room outside the master bedroom. He came outside in his robe. She gave him a fellatio right there. His back was turned to me. She gave him a fellatio. You knocked on the door. I came and opened the door for you. Puff went in the room. You came in the room and kissed that girl dead in her mouth. Now I'm telling that because you taking up for somebody that you know and a lot of more people know didn't do you right when you was at Diddy camp.
Gene shared a personal memory from that time to explain why this topic is so important to him. He said he directly observed behavior that showed the atmosphere around Diddy was unhealthy and unsafe, particularly for young artists who were still vulnerable and trying to find their place. Gene also claimed that one of the most serious incidents, which he says was left out of the documentary, involved action so extreme that Usher reportedly ended up in the hospital.
I heard about some music executive from the industry back in Harlem. You know, I heard it from some music executives back in Harlem. And I'm not going to speak on their name. They doing programs and everything like that. And they may be doing some, they may speak on it themselves. But I heard it from some music executives.
What did you hear?
Bro, you know how people be talking and we was around some people, something like that. And then some people might say, yo, I don't F with that dude. And at the time, I didn't even know who the F Usher was. You know what I'm saying? it was one of those type of situations. And when somebody say, yo, man, I don't F with them niggas, man, I'm getting out that industry and everything like that. You know, Puff sent this little kid to the hospital. How he sent him to the hospital? Man, nigga was bleeding from the butt. And that's what was said. But I didn't even have a name for the kid at the time. Then you heard, and that's what happened.
He said this points to the fact that certain things were going on behind the scenes and that some people knew about it. Still, in the entertainment industry, keeping quiet and looking the other way is often the norm. Gene Deal then spoke about what he personally witnessed involving Diddy and Jamie Foxx, making it clear he was only sharing what he saw firsthand. He described meeting Jamie Foxx for the first time on a tour bus during a trip he can barely remember. The atmosphere at the time felt casual and friendly, but there was nothing to suggest any real closeness between them. Later on, however, he claimed to have learned that Jamie and Diddy were allegedly connected to deeply disturbing behavior involving women.
On some friendship stuff, and it was a tour bus, and Puff was in the back, and there was a lot of girls in the front, and Jamie was just real touchy-feely, but Puff didn't come out the back. I don't know if Puff came out the back of the tour bus. You understand? And Jamie went back there for a minute or so, then he just came out, and he was all touchy-feely with the girls, and I'm looking at this dude like, wow, this dude kind of like touchy-feely with these girls, and he don't even know them. They know him because he's Jamie Foxx, but he didn't know them. So I don't really know their real relationship or how close they was. I didn't meet Jamie Foxx and really have a conversation with him until I was.
What makes this even more startling is that Jamie Foxx has long been associated with Diddy's party lifestyle, often seen alongside him during his most over-the-top moments. Jamie once joked about showing Diddy how to party without spending too much money. He also made a comment years ago saying, "Why would the FBI be with Puffy?" A remark that, looking back now, feels far more unsettling than humorous. Another celebrity Gene Deal claimed was quietly removed from the documentary was Ja Rule. His story traces back to Atlanta, when he and Diddy stopped at a specialty store while traveling. It was J.A. Rule's first time ever visiting a place like that with Diddy, and what stood out to him most was how completely at ease Diddy appeared in that setting.
The first time I ever went to an exotic bookstore, with Puff. I didn't know he even did that, but we was in Atlanta. So when we went to the door, they gave him a brown paper bag. So I guess this is a place that he was used to and people knew him there. So when they gave him a brown paper bag, Puff was just going around the store, just picking items off the shelves and stuff like that, putting them in the brown paper bag. So then, I was behind him and no Diddy, but I was about 3 feet behind him, you know what I'm saying, as he was putting stuff and putting it in his bag and stuff like that. So this one particular place that he was put up there, he had to reach up kind of high and get it. So he just started pulling things out. And he was pulling a lot of them off there. So I was like, so I looked up and the thing said butt plugs. When he walking down the thing, said butt plugs. I said, hey, yo, just to mess with him. I said, hey, yo, what are you getting these for? And he said, can I do my shopping by myself? I said, yes, you can. And I waited up at the register for him, because they had the big counter up there. So when he came to the counter, I said, yo, I'm finna see what this motherfucker this mofo is putting in his bag. Cause I know he gonna have to take everything and put it on the counter so the dude could count it, right? My man, when he came there, he gave the dude a wad of hundreds like this. You know what I'm saying? He gave him a wad of hundred and just put it up there. The dude ain't even, you know what I'm saying? He ain't even want to know what was in the bag.
After that, they all got on a private jet bound for North Carolina for a concert, with Ja Rule flying with them. Gene recalled that during the flight, Diddy repeatedly encouraged Ja Rule to take shots at Jay-Z in his music, pushing him to go at him lyrically.
And he was talking bad and talking crazy about Jay-Z and how Ja was talking about if it wasn't for him, that Jay wouldn't be the artist he was. He got him started. He wrote certain things and stuff like that to put him out there because, back in the day, nobody was even effing with Jay like that. So, but Puff was he was adamant about Ja going at Jay.
Because of this, Gene argues that the music industry was facing a serious imbalance. Record label could no longer justify handing out massive advances to New York artists when Southern acts were generating more money with far smaller budgets. Rather than correcting the system, Gene claims the industry deliberately stole the progress of New York talent. He said this played a big role in 50 Cent's early struggles. Trapped between label politics and harmful rumors, 50 was forced to leave New York to find real opportunities elsewhere. That move led him to build relationships outside the East Coast instead of coming up through his own scene. According to Gene, this experience is also why 50 Cent still holds bitterness toward both Jay-Z and Diddy.
From they went to the room. I don't know what they were doing in there. I didn't give a shit. But Puff told me, Gene, do not let nobody come in this room. Don't let nobody come in this room. So hour or so went by, whatever like that. Time went by. The doorbell rang. And it was this dude at the door saying that he was Ja's cousin. And I was like, he said, I'm here for Ja Rule. I said, who you? He said, I'm his cousin and everything like that. He said, I said, but yo, he busy right now. I'm telling the dude that he's busy. You know, the dude is talking about, yo, but I want to talk to him. I said, yo, bro, they don't want to be bothered. You know, I'm trying to, you know, tell this kid, yo, they don't want to be bothered, bro. You know what I'm saying? He said, yo, but that's my cousin. You know what I'm saying? I said, well, listen here, bro. They're in a room. They don't want to be bothered. You know, and you could see that there's only one room going back that way when you come to the room. You can see it's only one room. So then it's a piano, it's a couch, it's a room right there. And he told me he was going through the room. I said, yo, bro, Jesus Christ had to come down here and take the breath out of my body before you go in that room. You understand? Next thing you know, I grabbed him and we started. It wasn't no wrestling thing like that because he couldn't handle it at the time. He could front and tell his friends because he didn't hit me up on Instagram. He could tell his friends all he want to. But that if Puff and Ja tell you the story, that nigga was upside the piano. You understand? So now, Ja and Puff run out. They butt the naked, bruh. And they was grabbing towels. You understand? They was grabbing towels. And then Puff was like, yo, Gene, what's going on? Ja was like, yo. He said, that's my cousin. I was like, yo, bruh. He tried to get in the room and I wasn't letting him get in the room, bruh. And then Puff looked at Ja like this. You know, what that looked like, he said. And then Ja said, you don't want to be up in that room because there was a whole lot of freaky shit going on.
Gene wrapped up by saying that, in his opinion, the music industry never truly wanted East Coast hip-hop to make a full comeback. Every time it seemed close to happening, something would step in and derail it. He stressed that this isn't concrete proof, but rather a pattern he's noticed over many years. From his point of view, Gene Deal believes Jay-Z and Diddy were much tighter than most people want to acknowledge. Even though Jay-Z's attorney later suggested they weren't actually friends, Gene argues that their public appearances and interactions paint a very different picture.
Jay-Z and Puff was given an assignment, and that was to destroy East Coast rap. And what I mean by that, and I know people gonna be like, yo, Gene is out of his mind and everything like that. Check this out, brother. Is that New York rappers was getting 80 to 100, 800 to 1.2 million, or some larger than that, and to sign with labels back then. And they was getting a lot of money to make albums and records. When they had guys down south that these labels was paying $250,000, $300,000 on record deals, and these guys was bringing back platinum albums and everything like that. So what they had to do was they had to keep New York rappers down. That's one reason, other than the Irv Gotti shit that 50 was going through and the poison they was putting in about 50, he had to go elsewhere to California or with Jay and not with Dre and Eminem to get a deal.
they did not want East Coast rappers to get big. They were suppressing all new artists that was coming out of New York. Jay and Diddy was doing that. That's why when I heard your story, because I knew this for a long time, but when I heard Dame Dash that Jay wouldn't sign off on nothing, Jay wouldn't do this and Jay would that, because he couldn't let a Cameron blow up. He couldn't let an East Coast rapper like Beanie Siegel blow up. Because him and Diddy was giving that deal, we got to keep these East Coast rappers down. Because down south rappers, cash money.
Gene also insists that their connection wasn't just professional. According to him, they often joke about their personal lives and, interestingly, even dated women who bore a strong resemblance to each other.
So they was placed to destroy the East Coast rap. And then along came a somebody that was about to bring East Coast rap back. And there's nothing they could do about it. And this kid was finna put East Coast on the map just like Big did. And this is after 50. And that was Papa Smoke. Pop Smoke. That was Pop Smoke. Let me just tell you something, man. 2 weeks before Pop Smoke died, K Slay, who heard this from the industry, that knows that happens in the industry, set Pop Smoke and his people down and gave them a jewel. He said, y'all gonna have to protect him with his life, with y'all life. Y'all gonna have to protect him with y'all life. Because he know Pop Smoke was about to bring rap back to the East Coast. And what happened? Pop Smoke ended up dead. Now, I ain't trying to say that's some kind of conspiracy. And maybe some other shit was going on, or this, that, and the third. But brother, he had that conversation with K Slay 2 weeks before he was murdered. They didn't want rap to be back on the East Coast.
Gene Deal explained that many figures in the music industry operate on a completely different level than everyone else, often creating drama and moving on without facing consequences. That mindset was widespread back then, and he believes it could eventually catch up to them. Perhaps the most notable example he discussed was Kanye West. Before Diddy's arrest, Kanye had openly criticized him in interviews. Yet suddenly, he was back in Diddy's circle, even wearing clothing that showed support. Gene remarked, "This is typical in the industry. People switch sides whenever it benefits them. Maybe Kanye was worried he'd be next." Gene also recounted a trip to Las Vegas, where Kanye and his wife invited the group to shows and dinner. What happened afterward was disturbing, and Gene noted that the timing was especially striking. One day, Kanye's name appeared in court, and the next, he was physically there, publicly supporting Diddy. To Gene, it seemed calculated. Over time, as wealth and power grew, relationships fractured, and Kanye reportedly began lashing out at those he felt had betrayed him. This raises questions about whether his court appearances genuinely helped Diddy, given his past statements. Gene then revealed shocking claims about Usher, stating that he witnessed the singer exposed to situations far beyond what was appropriate for his age. According to Gene, an incident involving Diddy escalated to the point where Usher had to be hospitalized. He explained that while Usher has hinted at the events, he never fully disclosed the details, making it perplexing that he later defended or praised Diddy. Another shocking account involved Jamie Foxx. Gene described meeting Jamie on a tour bus during a trip he barely remembered. While the vibe initially seemed friendly, there was nothing that suggested a close relationship. Later, however, he claimed that Jamie and Diddy were allegedly involved in disturbing behavior toward women. Gene noted that Jamie was real touchy with girls he didn't even know, and Diddy remained in the back of the bus, observing. The situation was made more unsettling by Jamie's long-standing reputation for partying with Diddy and even joking about teaching him to party on a budget. Gene also shared a story about Ja Rule in Atlanta, visiting a specialty store with Diddy. It was J.A. Rule's first time in such a place, and he was struck by how comfortable Diddy seemed. Later, they flew on a private jet to North Carolina for a show, where Gene claimed Diddy repeatedly urged Ja Rule to go after Jay-Z and his music, pushing him to take shots at him. That night, Diddy placed Ja Rule in a private room with a few women and gave Gene strict instructions not to let anyone in. Gene described the tension and control Diddy exerted, emphasizing that he believed Diddy was manipulating J.A. Rule's career trajectory. According to Gene, Jay-Z and Diddy were much closer than the public realized. While Jay-Z's lawyer claimed they weren't friends, Gene argued that public interaction suggested otherwise. He said their bond went beyond business. They joked about personal matters and even dated women who looked remarkably similar. In fact, their closeness was such that they often referenced each other's partners in private jokes. Gene also argued that Jay-Z and Diddy had a shared goal, suppressing East Coast rap. Labels were giving huge advances to New York artists while Southern acts earned more with smaller budgets. Rather than fixing the system, Gene claimed the industry deliberately held back New York talent. This, he explained, contributed to 50 Cent's early struggles. Trapped between label politics and damaging rumors, he had to leave New York to find real opportunities. That's how he ended up connecting with people outside the East Coast instead of rising through his own region, fostering resentment toward both Jay-Z and Diddy. Gene also discussed Pop Smoke, describing him as an artist poised to bring East Coast rap back. 2 weeks before Pop Smoke's death, Kay Slay warned his team that he needed protection because he was about to put the East Coast back on the map. Tragically, Pop Smoke was killed shortly afterward, which Gene cited as part of the pattern of the industry preventing East Coast rap from fully resurging. In conclusion, Gene emphasized that whenever East Coast rap seemed close to reclaiming its place, something always derailed it. He pointed out patterns over the years suggesting that industry power players, including Jay-Z and Diddy, were working together to maintain control. Gene's accounts paint a picture of an industry where loyalty, power, and personal gain often outweigh ethics, with devastating consequences for those caught in the crossfire.